let's start this. It's 8 p.m. on Tuesday, December 17th, pardon me, for a special meeting of the Architectural Review Board. We have a short agenda tonight. First up, we're gonna be reviewing 2 Squab Lane, which you've seen two or three times prior to this. And they're coming back with modifications, revisions based on our latest meeting and the altercations that we suggested. So, Tucker, we're always on recording, so if you could introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Tucker Chase. I'm an architect. I live in Stratford, Connecticut. And I've been here many times relating to this particular project. And what I'd like to do is Liz gave us a letter of the things that they wanted us to discuss. So I'd like to go through them one at a time. There's the bullet points. So updating the lift glass doors on both stories to match in style those doors on the front and back entrances of the building. So I believe that has mostly to do with this particular look, and that looks like both the glass doors and the rest of the building, and it looks like the windows, this kind of, so everything will have the 2/2 look to it, including the glass doors. Next, updating the sign on the back of the building to be black lettering. So here's the one with the black lettering. And then here is 2 with the same sign nestled ever so wonderfully in this gable end.
Can you hold this up a second longer, Tucker? I'm sorry. We're going really fast, right. I think we had talked about the changing the colors, right, in there, like it had been like, white on a black, or white on a dark face, or we've gone back and forth with the colors, so this is the one we had agreed on the last meeting.
Yeah, I believe so.
The black on the
The white background.
the white background, right, for the sign.
Oh, he's
Sorry. So the hair's
There's
getting
probably
this
the black marks on the windows, right?
Oh, sorry, I was just talking about the sign.
I'm just right here. Number 3, redrawing the lower level lift entrance to allow for 18-inch on the pool side. So that is where are we? Over here. So down at the lower right-hand corner of the A1. But I felt particularly generous that day, so I gave them 24 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was
What was it before, Tucker, I'm sorry?
it was 0. Now, it just has to do with accessibility code,
Okay.
the ANSI code, you gotta have it pushed to 18 inches.
Okay.
Actually, I think it's 12 inches.
Okay.
It is 12 inches, so we gave them,
Double.
no, 18 for a pool, and this is a pool, yeah. So, but I gave them 24 inches. Reworking the parking space layout so spaces don't overlap. This was, I guess, sort of a typo last time, vaguely. Where is it? So the idea is that this all lines up. So we have the walk into the bakery at the lower level. Then we have the accessible parking space, which I believe is 12 feet wide. And then we have the accessible
Disabled lot.
area, which is 6 feet, and that just goes straight into the lift. So it's right there. Last time, I guess Liz pointed out to me they didn't line up properly, so this time they
The wall, is this a wall in the
Yeah.
parking lot?
line up.
There's a wall there across that area to divide up the parking lot somehow.
There's no wall.
I'm sorry, for a minute, it looked.
This one is a
No, it's just
walkway.
a walkway. For a
Yes, it
minute,
is a
I
walkway.
was confused because it almost
Um,
looked vertical,
No,
yeah.
if your eyes are getting like mine, I would do the same thing.
I see that one.
extend the lattice work surrounding the lower, so we have, this is the lattice work on the lower level. I believe this is what we discussed, this lattice work down here.
Do we have that one?
No,
Yeah,
we,
well, yeah, the opposite.
Kind of.
we don't have the
Kinda.
lattice
So-
part of it, though, do we?
I still wonder how the, area is going to be able to be kept clean under there.
I
It looks so pretty with the green, but I mean, when I think about all the debris that winds up under my porch.
That's because you don't have all those people out there cleaning it up every morning.
And it's funny, but I don't really think that this dark space there's something about it that makes me uneasy.
And I'm not sure if the grass is gonna grow and it's gonna be collection for leaves. and-
No, I don't see how the grass is growing either.
It's on the south side, I
Do you
believe
have-
there will be grass.
You both, you can always install lights, some sort of lights in there. Felt like it was too dark, also growing lights.
Well, we questioned on our original go like this about the grass under there, and the conclusion we got to is that you guys, I think, Dan, you spoke about this, you're looking at a specific grass under there that grows even in shaded conditions.
Yes, you can take a look at my lawn at 55. I have grass, that special grass, that grows 2 feet down, goes sideways, and doesn't need much water. It's beautiful.
But what
And
happens
it's a
in
special
winter?
grass from Gardens Alive.
Okay, so what happens in the
And it has
winter?
endorphins, which kills the bugs, so nothing destroys it.
Wow.
So you're gonna have,
That's what we want.
you know, we're all landscapers, you know, my father's a landscaper, as Marion knows.
Right.
We've been taught how to do this. So I'm not too concerned about the grass.
Okay, good.
Okay,
But debris, like
Should be?
debris, so,
Floating bits and pieces.
like garbage bags and leaves and all of that getting caught underneath.
I mean, you clean it once it, you know. We have the landscaper that'll go in there and clean it.
This is
Just like
small.
we do at our place behind Brooks Brothers, it's all clean.
It's a very small area and
It's a very small
elevated.
area.
So it's not, and there are no trees around there. That's a good reason that there won't be any leaves.
There's one right there in the photo, but, no, in your,
Oh, that's way up on the hill.
But we have weekly, to answer your question, we have weekly cleanup. We have, you know, go in there and just clean the whole thing.
I mean, obviously,
And
it's
if you
the
look
owner's,
behind Brooks Brothers, there are no leaves there. And there are a lot of trees up on the hill, right, Dave?
it's obviously in the owner's interest to have a really good looking place.
right,
Oh, yeah.
right.
I mean,
That's what I was
we're
thinking,
not
right.
trying to, you know, create a garbage dump. So, I mean, I mean,
Okay.
obviously, that's some labor, which, you know,
Yep.
is needed
For you
around the
newbies,
entire
we've had
property.
many a beautification award in that property.
Yeah,
Right, Marion?
Which property are you referring to?
Brooks Brothers, and behind there. Which property? The Brooks Brothers property.
You have a lot of pretty properties.
On that bank, we constantly get beautification awards for what we do.
So, we now get to the part of the evening which, is gonna run into a small stop, which is that George, was taking care of all the lighting and bringing the materials and bringing the this and that, but he was just got out of seeing the doctor for a couple hours, and he's on antibiotics with,
Oh dear.
contagious bronchitis, so.
Contagious.
I'm more than happy to come back in a month, and we will, you know, complete the appointed task of bringing you the materials and, talk more specifically about the lighting. We don't actually, you know, he was bringing all of that, he was gonna have it all, so.
With the lighting plan and,
Well, the lighting plan per se, has been redone. If you'd like to, you know, we can take a look at that, going around the building, and also on A0. The drawing may be a little small on yours. Apologies. So, on this drawing, they're represented by these rectangular squares. So there's one there right over the lip, one along the stone wall, and there's another, it's probably better on the renderings. There's another one there, another one there, another one there, there. But what I needed was a photometric analysis that he was gonna bring, so that, you know, we all can see better exactly how it lays out,
Right.
that there's no light spillage to the heavens and so forth. So,
That's
Um,
good, that's great.
Do you have a picture? Yeah.
anyway, this is
Right.
basically the layout, you know, that we did for where they are, but what this fixture looks like, I can't tell you.
Well, you will,
Yeah, it's a
come
placeholder
back,
for now.
right? You'll have
Yeah.
a, you'll have a, the look when you come back, correct?
That would be
Yeah,
the
of
goal.
lights. Right, okay. I know, it's a really chic thing these days, is to have black buttons, but I never.
Wait, can we, before you
Sorry.
stay quiet before you do that? Cause I'm curious if anyone has comments on the lighting, on the placement, where they put it, like the,
Yeah, the lights in plan are different than the lights in the images. The placement, and it looks like in the image, they might time out or relate to the balustrade, you know, verticals. In plan, less so. What is sort of the approach to where those lights on the south or east face are being located along that face?
This
Yep.
group,
Mhm.
you said, what is the approach?
Yep. It's different in plan and in elevation, I'm not sure
I think we
which
should
in-
focus on these,
Okay.
because I think this was done subsequently to the plan. So, I mean, you can see going around, I personally think they've been organized much better. One there, one over the big entrance, there and there, they lay out nicely across this space. And there are two here, so I think that this whole area, and it's basically for covering close to the building. I mean, as you know, there are town lights which are just across the road, about 24, 25 feet off of the building line. So that they will be giving light from that side, and then we would be complementing that light with this group along here and this. There's also employee parking along this space, so that the purpose of the lights along this edge are really for the employee parking. And then I think and then the ones in the back,
Yeah, the lights along the driveway light up the driveway right now, so they're there.
yeah, so on the steps going up, we have two there, and two there. So there's 6 relatively low lamps, which would, you know, be directional in there. Again, you know, we modified this from the town light, this is the town light, basically. And then we modified that in the drawing, but the goal is to light these steps, because these are gonna be highly active, you know.
Was there ever a consideration of using wall-mounted step lights just to wash over rather than
Well,
something that's mounted on a pole? Just seems like they are, again, without seeing the actual product that would be used, they're kind of just stuck on there, whereas I think something more integral with the wall and a little less conspicuous
Mhm.
would make that wall seem a little bit more special in some ways, just,
It might light it better too for walking.
well, it would wash the steps,
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
bake a
that's
light
what I
or
mean,
something.
Right,
It
better
just,
lit.
I'm just curious as to what the consideration was in making
Well,
that
I think the
decision.
consideration was that we liked the look of those lamps.
Okay.
I mean, so we wanted to duplicate that look, and
Mhm.
having them a small, you know, they're only this high.
Yeah, and I appreciate the
About
look,
30
I'm just
inches.
wondering if maybe it's overdone, it just seems like having like two, 3 pairs of it on that wall, like
Wouldn't that
maybe
look so
having like the
gaudy?
2 at the bottom to kind of, create the entry portion, and then
Right.
having like the wall lights as you go up the stairs would, kind of help with that processional aspect of that.
Are you talking about the front of the stairs having lights?
Well, actually.
Yeah, I
the
mean,
front-
I'm just, again, I'm not trying to dictate anything to you, I'm just saying that's sort of my take on it, is it seems,
I think so.
not that it's overlit, it's just that it's
Along
maybe
the
the use
side.
of those fixtures makes
Along
them a
the
little
side. Yeah, I
less
could see it
special by
putting them
using them
on
as
the
frequently as you do.
Well, 6 months ago, I totally agreed, cause we didn't have these ones in the middle.
Mm-hmm,
You know, we were gonna wash those with those, you
Yeah.
know, wall wash. We had them in there, and you can even see that sort of black mark was one of them. And
okay.
we had them in there, and then at the last minute felt that, you know, this was a nice look. But we can, you know, the wall wash ones
I
are
would
much
support
less
it at the
expensive.
bottom or bottom and top, but I think intermediate maybe.
We can get rid of those,
Yeah.
by all
I mean,
means. I don't have a problem with that, you can write that down.
Cause
Liz.
you might even
Get
have
rid of
better
the middle
lighting.
ones, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so, on the
that
steps.
in order to have each step bathed in light, you'd have to really turn up the volume on those 6 fixtures. So it might be, I agree with you, more intriguing to have them at the base, to call attention to the base.
Yep.
And then smaller lights bathing each, the steps, so
Mhm.
it'd be.
I don't disagree, I think that would
That'd
be,
be
you know,
nice.
we can certainly work with it, but again, what the exact fixture is, it was certainly, its intent was to be directional
Yeah.
Mhm.
to the steps and not otherwise,
Yeah.
so,
I think they're safer too, the washers, I mean,
Yeah, there, yeah.
Mhm.
because I know like out here at the town hall, it's horrible, however they install them out here. The lights,
Yeah.
that's of utmost concern to me, that
Right,
they don't cast those awkward shadows on the
yeah,
stuff.
that's the
Right.
washers don't catch the shadows. Can they be dimmed if you want it, or brightened, the washers? If you don't want such a bright steps, and you could still have them washed, but have it a lower level.
I don't see why not, I mean,
No,
I'm
just
not an
curious.
electrician, I'm not a lighting designer,
Yeah, okay,
but I
just
can
a
just
thought.
say, yes, 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 whatever you like, we'll do it. And we'll come in and show it to you, and you'll love it.
I
So
think
we
especially
can't,
when you
I
see
can't
this
do
view,
beyond what I can
No, I
tonight.
like the idea.
That's
Wash.
distracting, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So I'm sorry for clarification, so we're moving the middle set of poles, but are we, as a board, recommending putting in-wall set lighting in
I
place
think
of
that's a very
those?
good idea for
I
this
think it
board.
would be
Yeah.
necessary, yeah.
Okay.
We can put them in, actually in 6 locations, you know, going down the steps and then the 2 in the middle. Does that sound appropriate?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
And I guess maybe I'm a little, the width of the steps, is there an intermediate rail necessary? It's more than 44 inches wide. I'm not up on my
no,
commercial
no.
code.
No,
um,
you don't, no, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure you don't need to have that for commercial.
Was it 88 inches? Yeah, I forget.
So we've
Again.
got them on both sides, all
Yeah.
the way through.
But at a certain width, then you need to put an
Not,
intermediate,
not for commercial,
not for this particular. Okay, I just,
not for,
just
you know.
my ignorance on
The last
on
time
what
I
that
was at the
said, but,
Supreme Court in Washington DC, I couldn't find one for miles.
yeah. Oh, no, right.
And
Things
how about-
happen differently in Washington.
There's a single standard pole in the middle of the deck.
That's where
That
we're,
seems- What's that for?
light, because it's gonna be for outside, you know,
They have tables, I think they're gonna have
seating.
tables.
So we need to address light, and that was, again, I think with the proper fixture, it would be a good location for having light, that people can see by on the deck.
It's going to dictate where those tables are going to be and what size tables they are and,
It's not that big an area, it's just about 24 by 24, something like that. So, and 20 by 24, it's really a small area, smaller than your garage. If you think about a light in the middle of your garage, if you've got
Oh, it's
a
not the,
2-bay garage.
it's just the location and style of the light that I was questioning, just springing up there,
It's a little,
just pop up.
Is there something that you could put on that chimney pressing down?
Is it something what?
That you could put on the chimney wall? I think it's a chimney.
Yeah, there's a fireplace there,
I'm sure,
like
yeah, that would be,
sconces.
It needs something.
you put
I
one
think.
similar to the one that, well, we have some underneath there, I think.
We need something a little more directional,
Yeah.
Well, along the edge, we have a soffit, so we're getting, light down lights along, as you walk in from the deck into the dining area.
I was gonna ask
There,
that.
that's about, a 4-foot deep soffit, so that will have,
Lighted.
that will have
Ceiling
lighting there,
fans.
which we'll take care of. And then along that, yes, along the brick where the chimney is, I think it's a very good idea that we're gonna have some, we'll add 1 or 2 there.
So perhaps you won't need this
This
fixture
one-
in the middle of the
Uh,
area.
Right.
I don't
Well,
know.
if the tables and chairs are down there, it would be in the way, maybe, of how you
I
place
don't-
the tables and chairs.
I think you're gonna have trouble
Around it.
supporting that and
If
getting
it's there, I think
electrical
you're
to
around
it.
I don't know where
What
the
in the corner?
corner would be safer.
So I'm a little hampered here by not
Yeah.
being able to
Yeah,
demo, I apologize for.
We'll tell George something he's gonna have to think about then, right, when he does put together, that,
Right,
I'll make a note here, I like the idea of the wall, like something on the corner or something, wall mounting lighting, something
Right.
casting down, right? I'll put some of those
yes,
notes in there.
yes, yes.
Alright,
what's the material of the railing leading to the deck?
Everything is wood,
Not Isaac?
God forbid. You like AZAC?
I don't know how this works for railings. Railings rot.
Sag.
Well, this is
I
private property, it's, it's up to him about
Right,
maintenance,
okay.
it's not as though it's a
no, okay,
town piece and
Well-
we have to,
it's a very prominent place in the town, you want it to look as nice as
I
possible.
thought wood would be a heck of a lot better than AZAC.
Well, I don't,
In
maybe
any
I'm joking,
circumstance.
maybe,
So is there a landing here at the base of the stairs?
That stair is just a straight shot going up. But once you get downstairs, we haven't addressed that. You're coming down to
the flat level.
the relatively flat level where there's employee parking.
So the cars will go.
It's a stacked employee parking. I think it's on A0. Is this group in here? You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stacked parking.
Stacked parking, like stackers?
I'm sorry?
Parking stackers?
You leave it back
No,
there,
lined
start
up,
on
like
each
you
other.
drive in first, you're stuck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tandem.
But these are for the employees, the way the shifts would work.
So
You know,
that they
George
can get-
described it at the zoning hearing, they come in at the same time, then the group leaves and another group comes in.
unless they have an emergency and have to get out or something.
Well,
You
they're
just put
there,
it to
they will,
They'll all
You
get
know.
out and move their cars.
So there is a paving shift of materials to receive this railing?
Yes, it's just sitting on the
It's
grass,
just sitting there waiting for a car to hit it.
you know.
I don't understand what's happening here. Is this grass?
it's, those pavers that allow grass to come through,
Yes.
that's what it is.
All of that is that,
It's been identified that way, and,
right,
I mean, I didn't know this is something you guys, grass surface parking foundations, they're
Right.
called, and they're all through here, and they, so the grass will be coming up, it will be mowed, and it would be in that
Maybe we need
location.
a newel post or something. I'm troubled by this.
Well, the
Just landing
railings,
in the middle of
the railings just go right into the grass, there's no place for it to locate.
You're gonna need a
You want to
footing
have
at the
some
bottom of that
base
stair.
footing, yeah, you want something,
Landing.
you don't want to just end up on the grass that way, don't you want something to step off
Okay,
the
well,
plate,
We'll address it.
off the,
We'll
step
address
off the, step onto something?
A car might just find it.
Well, the car will, no matter what you do,
All right.
go back into it or something,
Yeah.
maybe.
And are there any plantings along this?
Right,
We have planting all along here and here,
And there's others.
I'm trying,
well, that plan's coming in later too,
Emerald greens.
the landscape plan.
Emerald green arborvitae.
the lands, I believe this drawing took care of the landscaping for, the zoning commission. Do you recall, Dan, exactly what they said?
One of the zoning commission?
About the landscaping.
Yeah, there are gonna be trees along the side, there are gonna be, arborvitae along the side.
Are they? Okay. You having anything in
And
color?
I like them, the
But there's
dwarf,
another drawing that has to do
dwarf,
with
because then you
landscaping.
can
Do
see over
do
the
you-
railing.
Is it in your purview?
No,
Okay, and we do have a landscaping plan, but I didn't bring it.
okay,
It was done by Land
They
Tech
were gonna put
Associates.
holly there, but I nixed that one.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a relatively detailed, plan that's
Maybe
been
when you
done by
come in with
Land
the
Tech.
lighting,
Yeah, we're gonna have,
do the landscaping?
there are gonna be Japanese maples along the side also. We
Mhm.
love Japanese maples. There are gonna be a number of Japanese maples.
It's very pretty, unless you talk to a person who's bought Japan, they don't mix.
Yeah.
It's a nice
We had a
landscaping.
big fight
plan.
over that in front of the town hall.
So you'll bring the plan for next
Yeah,
time?
yeah, we had the plan last time.
But how do those cars get there? You don't have a curb cut or anything here.
The cars just drive on it, just a straight
From-
shot
from the-
on it. First one takes the first place, the
But they
second
have
one
to
the
get
second
on it through
place.
this parking lot here, right?
It's from the lower,
Lower parking lot.
yeah, it's right from here. You're coming in here and then you just go down and park. Next one park, next one park.
Oh, it comes
There.
over Squab Lane.
Park.
They don't show
It's
a
this
curb
little
cut.
entrance,
There's
yes, in the lower,
Swab lane.
yeah, between Squab Lane and the town parking
Okay.
lot.
And it
Penny's
says
building is over
employee?
here. Sorry?
It says employee parking?
That is the employee parking.
There will be a sign that says employee parking so that people don't just
I
think,
Yes, that's a
Don't-
good
oh,
point.
oh,
I
up they
don't
go.
know.
Great.
Get caught in the
don't know.
queue
I
of
think so.
shifts.
That would be, that would be very upset.
It'd be very hard to get on there, because they come in at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, these are
So it'll be full by
baking
5.
and it'll be.
Can we get to the windows now?
Yeah, go for it.
And then they leave at 2, and then the other
Well,
group comes in, so.
I wonder, I mean, I'm bringing up this black muttons business on the window, which seems to be hot right now, but it bothers me for some reason. Am I the only one?
It's
Is
definitely a
it too
trend.
busy? Is it too busy? It's a trend. Is it too busy to have them white or even have them the color of the building? But to me, they jump out if they're
Well, I
black.
think that was his plan.
I know.
think he was quite,
He liked it. Yeah.
Yes.
No, well, I'm just expressing my thoughts.
Are they going
I
to be a
know.
dark bronze? Is that the plan, or are they going to be black?
I think it's a
I think
passing,
it's black.
Black,
I think it's a passing fancy. I think in
yes.
6 years, they're gonna
what's the
say very
material, what's the
dated.
material of them?
Clad.
Wood or plastic,
I
vinyl?
I think would be, let's say, a Marvin, Ultrex type of material. It's a fiberglass.
So it'll stay black.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
the manufacturer
won't be painted.
makes the color.
It could fade, it could do a lot of things.
Well, the Marvin's come a long way with their product. And
I hope so.
they're- Yeah, the longevity of the Ultrex is pretty good.
It's
Better than the
forever.
wood.
Yeah, the actually fiberglass is more desirable than vinyl,
Yeah.
you know, in terms of how it moves and.
Yeah, it's a
I
very
think
good product.
Armstrong has it too. don't
I
they?
agree with you, I think white would be more
I
appropriate
think
for the
it's
building,
very
but, I
distracting,
mean,
and I think it's gonna be passé very soon.
Well, my painter informed me that, we just had this conversation the other day, is that it is a trend,
I
and
know,
he's having a lot of trouble with those who've changed their minds. To go away from black is extremely difficult.
to paint white
So
over it.
think
by-
you're getting new
Yeah,
windows.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you have black and
Well, if
then
it's vinyl, you can't paint over, I don't think.
No,
very
it's-
You
difficult.
could if it was wood, but vinyl you
But
probably.
even if it
couldn't.
was wood, yeah, that
very
would be multi-step process
Yeah.
to get it.
Yeah.
Is,
So we
oh,
know.
Marion, is it the siding is darker than the trim, which is white, and then you have the black? Is that what's bothering you?
I
Is the
think
kind of
they're
the,
just, to me, there's an
the-
awful lot
the
going on.
palette is-
The
is
whole
it-
thing is very busy and distracting to the eye.
Really?
And and the black emphasizes the busyness of it, and I think some simplicity would help it. And the only way of doing it is to have it with, matching the wood color, or having it white like everything else, and the white all kind of blends in together. But I
Well, it
think,
is a
I think it's a
historic
contrast,
house.
that's a contrast, it's one more, boom,
Yeah.
that hits you when you're looking at it, and it just seems with all the railings, with all this vertical, it just doesn't, it's not a quiet kind of a look. It's kind of looks like a very busy place.
It's the trending,
Aesthetically.
it's the trendiness
Yeah.
more bothers me, I think, and then I can see that in 2 years, that trend will be
Over.
completely
Well,
over, and then,
If
What
it
do you
fades,
do?
it'll look weird.
but, you know.
But if you use, I don't know, I think,
You
if
could
you want
do
to
it-
paint it the color of, if you have, you can paint something, but once you get into vinyl, then you have to remove the whole thing and do the whole thing over again complete, or not vinyl, but, what is the new stuff?
Well, it's very,
Fiberglass.
what about this, it's very easy for us to make the change in the color rendering, so, I
Yeah.
mean, we can do that. I'll run it by, I mean, this is a choice of the owner, the color choice you're looking
Right.
at, I can't really comment on, but I'm more than happy to show him, this was a suggested alternative, and that,
Well,
what you think of it, and
that
he
was-
might,
Well, that's
you
part
might
of our
like it.
job. We're looking as how it fits into the whole town, and we're looking on a long-term view. The owner owns it now, but there'll be a new restaurant in there, maybe, or sometime soon, and then the new restaurant, might wanna make changes. I don't know, but I think everything should have enough flexibility. It could be repainted or something, but if you're getting into something that, a window that has to be completely taken out if you don't like the color, you're
no,
talking
it
too much money.
doesn't, you can repaint it, it's a fiberglass
So,
material,
yeah,
it
right,
can
all
be
right.
repainted.
Well, why don't you show him the white, I think that's a good
Yeah.
idea, and,
No, I'm happy to do
and
it.
see maybe if he might be persuaded that this looks better.
Could look
Or,
better.
or
'Cause it
having
is a historic building, so you could lean on that a
the
little.
black,
No,
For
the
the
house
white.
itself
That's
would
historic.
benefit.
Right,
by
I know.
having-
I think it would look very nice white,
I
really,
do too.
personally.
well, I think
I hope
the
he does.
historic
Give it a shot.
nature has been so destroyed, the way it's been set up right now. But you can still, I think we should try to refer a little bit of the history to it.
Yeah. And the decking is, what is the decking?
I believe it's a Trex type material. And I can
And the
get you that
color-
answer.
Yeah, I'd be interested in the color, how it relates to the body, the
Absolutely.
clapboard.
It's,
I thought you were gonna say iPay going silver, and I thought that's where you were going with that.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
If you want iPay. I always thought it was ePay, but whatever. It's expensive
Yes.
and it's hard,
Hard to
so
make
I
it.
don't know.
Well, maybe you'll have a sample of the Trex, it'd be interesting.
The idea was for him to, can you also note that, Liz, to bring sample of the decking material too? please?
Yeah, I'm looking here, I have samples of he was supposed to bring samples of the veneer stonework and
Right.
also the stone paving.
That's correct.
and the
Um,
decorative paving.
But maybe add this,
Okay.
Or stucco,
Or
On
maybe
the
what
lower,
about
on the
something
lower
that just
level, it's gonna be
fades
covered up
and-
by plants.
authentic
Like
stucco.
wood, that fades.
What is that?
The grays, they're just grays
You only get to
naturally.
see it for 6
No.
months, out that it'll be
Essentially-
landscape.
They always
Harsh.
need something on it usually, but,
They put preservative on it.
Yeah, and
But
the-
you do with what,
and then it gets stained.
no,
They-
true.
I think the Trex is better now, I don't know.
Yeah,
Alright guys, what else on here?
Well, I don't
Any other
think it should
comments?
be a yellow Trex, you don't wanna introduce that
How much is natural wood?
gold color, do you? I
No,
don't like the
a
gold
gray,
color,
gray,
something that relates to the
a grayish.
walls of the house, I would think, and that's inserting a whole new color
yeah,
thing.
new color.
It's
so if
distracting.
it
Yeah,
were
but if you
wood,
go
would you
with-
feel
if you go with
comfortable
wood
with
color.
the mahogany?
Well, that's what I'm saying, you need something that looks that way, and this gold is very distracting, I think.
I think that's the printer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, I'm asking the question, we don't have samples.
Oh, no,
Maybe
right,
we'll
but I
see
mean,
the
natural wood
samples.
color.
It's going to be an array
Yeah, I mean, if
of,
we did a
like-
mahogany, you feel comfortable about that?
That
Wood.
might
Can I have
be
a
too
show of hands?
expensive. No,
I wanna
I'm not
see
gonna
the
make-
array, like the palette of the clapboard, the
Yes,
stone,
yes, exactly.
decking,
A palette
you know,
for
so
us.
we could
Maybe we
We
should bring
need the
a-
samples,
An option and a backup
that's the only
option.
thing to do,
George is usually doing that,
right.
couple samples.
Wait for that and the lighting too.
Okay, by the way, did everyone agree or have thoughts about the black window trims? Everyone
I'm
lean
in
towards
favor.
something more simple, or are there
Right.
people here that like the black as well?
I'm okay with the black, but I think it's worth relooking
Yeah,
at the
I'm,
white.
I'm open to looking at the options, but
Okay.
I wouldn't render an opinion right now.
Okay,
And I would say if the black is important, I would look at potentially a lighter siding color. I think part of my issue with it is
Oh.
the
Yeah.
dark siding with also the black.
Right, yeah,
windows.
I agree.
I like the look of you know, a natural, or not natural, a white, you know, modern farmhouse with the black windows, but the dark siding with the
I
dark
don't even like
windows.
that, I just think it's too trendy, I would really like to see you try and talk me.
Well, I'd also
If
like a
you
lighter
think that's
siding color
right.
too.
I'm of the opinion you cannot, no matter what you do, you will never stop trends from, you can, anyone who knows about architectural history can look at a building.
And
You
tell
probably
them,
all can look
That
at a
was
building and know
right,
exactly
exactly.
within 5 years when that building was built. It
That's
doesn't
right.
matter what you do, this is,
No, I know.
but,
I
listen, I'd like to make the majority happy, or if you're the majority.
Well, I think a palette, if you brought in the siding and the decking and all of this,
And the
would be
stone.
very important, and the stone
And the
is key, and the shingles,
and-
right.
And the
Just
grass.
And
For
the-
clarity,
Bringing grass.
I have the seed,
for clarity, it's,
Grow quick.
it's hardy
I'll bring in the
siding.
seed.
Grow quick.
It's what?
We'll hand it out.
Hardy
Siding's
plank.
hardy plank siding.
Okay.
Okay, well, that addressed everything that we had proposed to them in our last meeting, so, anything else? Cause you know, when these guys come back, we're gonna have them look, we're gonna look at just these final things, we're not gonna go back, so this is our last chance to address any other thing there. You guys good? They're open to stuff, okay? Yeah?
Yeah.
Good,
Thank you very much for your
You're
time, and that
welcome.
was a nasty day.
thanks for making it in, Tony. I'm
No
glad we talked
problem.
about it.
Could I make a comment
Yes.
not about this application? Can I remind you,
Oh,
please,
goodness.
that the third floor windows of the building next to Dunkin' Donuts, one of the windows is still not 2 over 2.
Still not what?
2 over 2, double hung.
Above the hair salon,
We've
the third story.
approved years ago replacement 2 over 2 windows, and one of your tenants put in 1 over 1.
Get you a letter.
So you've got a pair of
Yeah.
double hung windows, one is 2 over 2, the whole building is 2 over 2. And then there's the one
Communication is.
tenant who put in the 1 over
On the
1.
third floor or the second floor?
It's a third floor, it's in the peak,
The third floor on the peak?
yeah.
You have to show it to me.
George knows this, he just hasn't done anything
Who?
about it. George knows this.
Probably
George,
another
oh,
reason he got
it's George.
sick, he knew he was
Oh,
coming.
George did it.
Didn't wanna hear about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, we'll take care of
Just
that.
thought I'd add it.
No, good for you.
Cause here in this building, there are 2 over 2s, so you would like to see all of the windows be 2 over 2, not having one isolated 1 over 1. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Rita, I
All
don't
right.
look at that.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Which one is it? This one in the middle?
The one that sticks
Oh, this one on this
Yeah.
side?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean,
Sorry.
yes,
Thanks very much.
okay. How did that happen?
I don't know,
It's been
It's
like
been
that
there.
since he
For a
did the
long time?
studio.
yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that?
Since he did the studio.
Been
Oh,
there
in the
for
studio,
years.
they did it up on,
Been
okay.
there for
Yeah, he did the windows.
Thinking.
They did the windows.
4 years. Okay, guys, moving on our
All
agenda.
right. You got it.
We were supposed to talk about the Exxon Mobil, proposal, and these guys actually didn't make it in tonight, so we're gonna bump this and talk about it in January.
Okay.
But, it will need discussion, you'll see.
Is the koala?
Yeah, some sort of, yeah, a lot of new
A what,
things
koala?
going.
It's called a koala banner.
There's a lot, Mobil's trying to do a lot of new stuff to brand their, you'll see, we'll see when they come in.
We need to stay at the top of the food chain.
Right, right. Okay, and the last one is about village districts, and, I personally don't have much to say beyond that. I'm actually meeting with planning and zoning to kind of go over a next phase in this in January, the first week of January, I'm meeting with planning and zoning. But, Marion actually did a great write-up here that's, people have been kind of tentative about, touching on residential zones and what that means and kind of gave her property rights, and people get a little nervous here, we talk about zoning regulations and where that goes. So she did a good explanation here, that maybe, do you wanna read it?
So then we can send it around.
Why don't you just
if
read it to
people
everyone,
wanna
and it'll
hear it.
take you 2 minutes, and then you guys can hear it, and then if you have
Alright.
questions.
Well,
we
I'm
can-
trying to address the fears of people, you know, taking your property rights away. And what I've written is village district is for someone that doesn't know anything. Village districts is a zoning option initiated in a Connecticut statute and included in Darien's town plan. since 2006. This zoning addition looks to the future of our town by helping to maintain our character and charm by blending and protecting open spaces along with old and new structures. And this option, this statute, I should say that again, does not look to the past by crystallizing our town in one place and preventing any change. So putting it as something looking forward as compared to holding everything. The statute allows placement of a few overlay zones for some of our outstanding historic and environmental areas. Maybe I should add residential here for a minute. It is not setting up a new commission with restrictive rules. The only change a building district zone creates is the addition of architectural guidance for our existing P&Z commission when they are addressing these sites. This is directed only within the special voluntary accepted district zones when a new building additions or structures are needed. So becoming part of the district is something you agree to, you know, it's not dropped down on you in a fight.
Say it again, so if I'm in an existing district, does that mean that it's voluntary?
No, I mean, if we do create a district, you ask permission of the people and you know, the group of houses, or one or two houses, or whatever it is, you tell them it's having it and you work with them. You don't just come in one night and say, okay, now planning and zoning has dropped a zone on you. And you have to, and what, well, I'm getting off of this, but the details are is that what the statute says, if there's something with a structure or even, let's say the field, the Mather Field, you know, they want to build something there in the field, then the zoning people have the right to say, we have to, it should be a little bit like this, less than this, and they could go to an architect, and they could go to this commission, I mean, they could go to our board and say, we want your input on how this should be developed in this particular, this zone, this village district has become sort of an overlay zone. But we're not forcing people to become part of the zone, it's up to them, you know, yeah. Sorry.
Say, I decided to become my house to be part of the village district, and I sell it,
Mm-hmm.
and the buyers, do they then have to be a part of the village district?
Yeah,
Does
yes,
that hurt my
citizen.
resale value if there's a modernist coming through?
I think maybe
Yeah,
if
they would
you
buy that
have a
property.
modernist,
Okay.
you might have, but this is, we're not talking about a lot of sites, it's gonna restrict a lot of people. But,
Because if you have a historic home, I think generally the answer would be that a buyer would be attracted to it as a historic home and not feel that it's a limitation, but rather feel that it would be an enhancement.
they wanna protect
And they'd
it.
feel secure that next door there wouldn't be the demolition of a historic house. It would be
Right.
like the continuity would be preserved.
Well, there's some people that build, that strictly choose a district, like perhaps Prospect Avenue.
Yeah,
And they want, and they like that look, and they
Yeah.
really don't want someone to come in and kind of change that whole feeling of the town. But it's not done over the screaming, you know, negatives from owners on Prospect Avenue.
Dave, you have a stink face, why?
I'm
Oh.
just listening.
Oh, good.
I'm
Sure.
Who will
Okay.
No.
make the determination where these districts would be?
Well, I think that's coming up in terms of people's, we have 6 sites that have been mentioned in the town plan of the areas. And we can, what we thought we would do is we'd go around to some of these sites and ask them tell them what the story is, and see if they want to be a part of it. And we'd see how it goes. I think that one site that we thought of that might be, we have a National Register district in town too, and this could be an overlay on the National Register district, but the National Register district is still controlled by us architecturally, so that doesn't add too much to zoning, but I think that Mather Corners is one area that is sort of a natural, because you have the Mather home, and you have the Mather field, and then you have a cemetery, and you have the house that Bertha McGurson built, which is Stephen Mather's daughter. And I think they wanna keep it that way, you know, so they're very happy to have, I mean, right now zoning can't say anything, and we, as a board, can't give any comments about anything in a residential district. Wilder Gleason made that very clear. And, so that this is a case where an architect would have a little input in some of the special areas that might come up with changes.
Because I also think, just to add to that comment, Marion, is that sometimes what happens in this town, unlike other towns that have historic fabric, is so often you'll have a buyer who will come in and say, oh, I love this street. I love everything about this street. Now I'm going to tear down this historic building and build my dream house so that I can enjoy this historic street.
Even though they don't live in something like it.
Right. And so that was what we went through on 5 Mile River. It's like you have all these people who love that street, but they still want to come and demolish something so that they can live on that street, instead of with an eye towards its historic fabric, buying into that street and maintaining that historic fabric. And I'm hoping that something like this will guide the thinking process. Where in this commuter suburban, there's a lot of demolitions going on, which wouldn't happen in a historic town that was farther from Manhattan.
No, we have
Just
about
have that
38
problem.
a year since 1999 at least,
Okay.
and total demolitions.
I was just interested if you could maybe just finish reading.
Yeah, I will, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay, no, I mean,
What I'm trying to say is that the idea is that we're using an existing commission is compared, a lot of towns have what they call a historic district commission. I'm diverting, I'm sorry. And that is when it's elected historic board that's a part of it, and they rule on everything in great detail. What this village districts is just using an existing zoning commission, but then having them, when certain sites are affected, they can call in an architectural group or person to help them make some of the architectural building decisions. All right, now continue with this. This is, I think that we're down to the last paragraph. Now this is, I'm just pointing out, Darien asked for zoning in 1929 to protect its future, basically, with the control of space and aesthetics and maintenance of property values. You know, so that we don't have gas stations all mixed up with everything else. And so over the years, these regulations, I feel, have been basically welcomed by people because they feel protected, you know, in the amount of land they have, et cetera, and they will keep it that way. And it has not been seen as robbing your property rights. These zoning regulations, I don't think people feel are stealing value from their home.
Usurping.
And then, I'm surfing, I know, sorry.
No,
Yeah,
no,
no,
is
usurping,
it like a usurping instead of a robbery? Do you
Well,
mean like,
Well, I was trying to be a little dramatic by
Oh.
using that word, but we can, I
I
don't
see
need
what you're
to.
saying.
We can use usurping, the
No,
times
I
when I wanna be a little informal and the times I flop anyway. But I'm just saying, because of the regulations that we have, that is one of the basic reasons that we have the space and the character that we have, you know, and that I think we all, maybe we don't all wanna keep it that way, but I think, you know, there's so much pressures around us to try to keep us somewhat the way we're familiar with and keep enough open space, enough beaches, enough this is something that's very important for our future property values and people wanting to come here. So I'm basically saying zoning protects us. And P&Z's architectural guidance in the case of 1 or 2 village district zones, I think is a welcome addition. And it will lay a firm, sustainable foundation and will protect more than restrict property rights and values. That's basically what I said, it's sort of,
that's the paraphrase.
does it understand it? I mean, is it confusing?
the one
Yes.
sentence, Marion, the one sentence I think that, I wanted to mention talk about is this statute does not look to the past. It's not quite what you mean. I know what you mean to say. It is looking to the past to guide us. You
Well,
know,
I'm saying,
I know what you're saying is you're saying we're not freezing a moment in time in the architecture where, that's what you mean to say, like we're not looking to freeze time.
Well, I was
Right.
crystallizing, but we could use freezing.
Or no, but I was trying to paraphrase so I understand what you're trying to say.
Well, I'm
We
try-
are looking to the past because we value the past, but we're looking to,
Well, the future, the way I look at it, is we're taking the valuable past and we're blending it into the
Right.
future.
right,
And we're not turning backwards and saying, we don't want anything new here. We've
Right.
gotta keep this town just like this
Right.
and not changing. We're trying to keep it all
Right.
crystallized into one
I might not
town.
even put that in, just, that might,
That sentence?
No, I think that's actually, I think that is important. It's forward-thinking design. It's like creating, it's forward-thinking design. This is what's made our town great because we've put in
For-
a sort of way of plan, a way of, we've been thoughtful in how we do our planning and zoning. It's what's made us a great town, because you can't just put up like a bar next to a house and you have to go through this.
Well, that would be Houston.
Right,
Well, that's what
But
I'm
this is
saying.
forward-thinking design based on, like, without losing the kind of style that's gotten us
We're
this far
trying
in
to
the past.
project
or
the
as
future.
you-
We're trying to look what Darien's gonna be like 30 years from
I
now.
understand the
Yeah, okay.
concept, but I think if the sentence is, it's introducing something to people's minds that might,
It's like, oh, they just wanted to live in the past.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as a reactionary.
Well, that's what I'm
Right,
trying to say.
right.
This
You're
is
trying to say the
not,
opposite of that.
this is the opposite of just trying to look in the past.
Right.
maybe you
No,
don't
but
have to
Allison's point
say
is that
that.
line might, yeah.
Maybe you don't have to
Put that in
say
people's
that.
minds.
Like,
Yeah.
just- You know what I mean, like you might not have to say that.
Well,
What
I
it
think-
doesn't do.
What it doesn't do.
You
Well,
don't, may not have to say this
This
concept
a
doesn't
village district
do
is
this.
not.
Right,
I think
it
you
just-
have to know that it is not gonna be one of these things. Okay, now
Oh,
you
well.
can't change your shutters, forever.
So, speaking to that in a more general sense, is this actually guidance or is it regulation, and where is the line drawn, and,
Well-
what power you actually have? Just not saying it's not a good idea, just
Mhm.
speaking, in the detail of, I'm
I mean,
either a
how it happens.
homeowner who wants to renovate, or I'm a builder and I wanna do black windows, and you say I don't like black windows.
Because that's not historically accurate.
No.
Is it, can I not do it, or you just say, we don't want you to do it, but,
Well, I think it depends, we're not talking about maybe more, at the most 6 areas in town.
Yeah, but what can you do in those areas?
But
I mean,
you can
it
make-
gets
you
into
can make-
advisory
Dave
board
really wants
versus
the black
regular.
mullions.
Yeah.
Well,
How does
it
his
means,
process work?
basically
Yeah.
means they have to come to the architecture review board, if that's what planning and zoning, and we can have some input
Mhm.
on what it looks
On
like.
an advisory level.
The
but not on a
architect, the
regulatory level.
architect as part of the P and Z is an advisory
Mm-hmm.
level. It's not, when P and Z makes the decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
And they do
Right now-
take their cues from us to a certain
Right.
extent.
And, but right now, as you know, that nobody can make any comments about any historic or anything in the residential zones.
Right.
And so that's,
But that's the good checks and balances though, like if the ARB works as an advisory board and says like, we think these should not be black, black trim or black mullions, and you go to the planning and zoning who's making the final decision saying, okay, you can't get, they're gonna say, all right, is ARB getting a little carried away here, is this like, is this consultory, role got too much, so maybe these guys, they can paint this here, so I think if you back up the regulations we draw up and we establish with planning and zoning, those would set the tone first of all, how
Mhm.
detailed that gets. Like, would paint color be in that? I think it depends the area, and that's probably, you're getting a little too,
now, we haven't set up the form, this
Right.
is just the beginning, it
But-
has to be,
there is, like you said, though, like, when is it regulation, when is it advisory? And I think that's it coming to, it would, whatever these village districts own would come to an advisory board, whether it's architectural review board or a single, architect, like landscape architect consultant, and then they would advise P and Z on what they think the best solution is for a given project in that given zone. And then the balance of that is the P and Z would make that call, what the actual regulation would be then.
but there would be, but we have to, people who are setting up these little overlay zones have to have certain guidelines, what they're looking for, like the additions to sort of follow the original house and not be a completely different thing, certain simple things like that. I think are
Right.
gonna be part of some of the guidelines that have to be formed, but they haven't been formed yet. We have to talk to planning and zoning, we have a long ways to go. But I think, it's nice to know that
Does that kind of
The
answer your question, Dave, or
architectural
is it-
review board understands it.
Yeah.
Is it
I
still
mean-
gray, just as gray, like
I mean, I think it
hearing
is
that?
gonna be a gray area, and I just ask, cause, I mean, that's what it kinda comes down to in the end. You know, as we see here, most of the time people come here and they're open to our suggestions.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're thinking worst case scenario, you would want to create this to have, true meaning, and if you didn't have that ability, to actually direct
Direct change.
how something is built, then, and I don't know
I
if
think
you
the
can ever
Rings
get
End
there.
Road is a good example of that.
Right, so if
Well,
that, if that
is the-
existed,
That's the perfect example, actually. I think that's what stimulated a lot of it.
so, but if this existed for that structure and they came to you and said, this is what we're gonna build, and you gave them all these great suggestions, they said, well, I don't care, I wanna build this anyway, then what happens?
Well, unless the planning and zoning or zoning board of appeals just doesn't give them the building permit, but that's not our issues, I think. But I think in general.
If there was an overlay zone.
Can they
If there,
legally do that?
no, but if there was an overlay zone there, like, if we had made that recommendation, planning and zoning could have rejected the application saying like, well, this is a specific overlay zone based on architectural, on aesthetic principles, so we can say no to this project, even though your setbacks are there, even though you've hit your, your FEMA regulations are in, so they could have said no there, based on where, right now, there's nothing. Even if we say like, because we did say we didn't like that project, and then they were like,
We don't have.
you can't do anything.
How does that
They
hold
still
up
met
though,
regulations.
Dave? We've all seen that the blight ordinance has been difficult to push through. Doesn't that,
The
I
lighting.
see this, the words, I
blight.
think your words, the guidance versus regulatory, I think
ordinance.
that's very important. I think guidance can be viewed in a lot of different ways,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I just
I'm
think
not
it's
sure.
tough, I think it's difficult.
The guidance could help though in those zones. I mean, it could
Oh, sure,
be
but
somewhat of a preventative measure to keep those zones as, more, maintain their continuity as far as the
oh,
feel for
sure,
the neighborhood.
yeah, I agree with you, but whether the person with the project agrees,
Mhm.
it's different,
Well, that's what we're saying. I think we're gonna try to talk people into.
Do they
but
think
again,
we
the-
know better than they, I mean, that's.
No, but I think that a lot of people who want to, like a historic area, want to keep it. But the idea that you brought up, that you have someone come in, and what Rita said, that likes to come in and say, I love the area, but I'm gonna do my thing. I don't know how frequent that is, but usually people like to go to an area that they feel comfortable with architecturally sometimes.
So that's the idea, so people wouldn't be buying, if you know it's a village district zone, you wouldn't be buying in there, that you'd be buying in there appreciating that historical fabric. So
Right.
you hopefully wouldn't be seeing that kind of if you would, it would, I can't see that happening. Now, like, and you say, okay, what about the people who are already in those zones, like, then the zone wouldn't be established if someone's out, so the people currently living in there, if they're not on board with it and up to date with the process, then it's not gonna work, the village district zone won't go in, because you have to get all the residents to sign off on it. Right, so it'd be anyone new moving in who would be the
Yeah.
issue, and then again, them knowing that this is a village district zone, like there is a certain overlay, so they would know ahead of time, okay, they can't just go in and do a bunch of stuff, they might
But
get
the
some.
existing zoning still
bursary.
stays, it's not
Yeah, I agree
changing.
with you, but I have heard boards such as ours referred to in other towns as the taste police.
Yeah,
And
right.
that just makes me cringe, and I never wanna be known as the taste police, that
Well, I don't
You
think
know
it's
what
a
I
question,
mean?
I don't think we should feel that way, because I don't know. I feel as if when we work with people, and we have, that I think everyone, a lot of the time comes out feeling as if it's better.
But the
They feel
commercial
very
thing,
happy.
they have ulterior motives, I mean,
What?
they wanna please, a commercial has
Well, they,
different motives. This guy might think, oh, this, certain color for a house, let's say, it's
well,
beautiful, I
colors
think
might
it's
not be
beautiful.
part of the regulation. I'm not so
Well,
sure
it
you
would
put the
have
color
point
in.
effect
I
on the
think-
neighborhood, wouldn't it?
Right, no, I don't know that it does, because I think it's the architecture really because the thing that can be changed is color, I mean.
Okay, well, that's an
By the way-
important fact, then, that's an important part.
I wanna paint my colonial house pink
Mhm.
with that.
It'd be better on a Victorian.
Yeah.
Well, there's some beautiful pink houses, there's
Bucking the
one I can
trend.
think of in Manchester, Vermont, that's absolutely beautiful, but
Mhm.
that's the particular color. Now, somebody that's not so good on color might not
Why not?
Well, we don't
Well-
really have anything in our residential districts to protect anything architecturally.
Mhm.
And even if it's on the National Register, as you know, it's not a complete protection. And nothing is, you just have to try. Something that's on the register can be destroyed too.
Mhm.
It takes a little more effort, but it can be. You know, with people going to certain levels and trying to override.
Mhm.
But it's, I mean, I just think you have to understand that we have to have some sort of protection in
Right.
some areas, because there's none really now.
Right, and responsible stewardship isn't a smart action plan as far as our zoning laws go, in my opinion. Right, that's the best we have here is responsible stewardship, people moving in and just having
Taking
the
care.
the history and the, you know, the insight, the education to know, you know, what fits in a building. I mean, I don't feel like that's a plan, that's like lack of a plan. I don't know.
But
And
I'm
by
gonna
the way-
knock down my 100-and-some-odd-year-old Victorian, I'm gonna build a new modern something, and 100 years from now, it'll still be standing there, and it'll be history then.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you're right.
As is that new modern build on Prospect that is now history of Darien. By the way, about the taste police, I won't comment on that. A lot of people have come to me about our board recently and said they're really impressed by it, by the number of qualified people we have on it. I think that's a lot, goes back to what other I don't know what other boards are made of, but I think,
Out of requirement
Specifically-
here, you have to be on at least 20 years and then some.
yeah, I know. But people have really said like your board's like
But they have-
very impressed by like the caliber of people and the qualification. I mean, everyone brings like a very important background here, and I think that speaks volumes. When people do come to us, it's not just like someone's talking out their ass and saying like, okay, well, I have a because I like this color. It's people actually have a background and a reason. You know, there's some your guys' careers are based in this, so it's a different level of advisory.
I'm not calling us a taste place.
Yes, I know. Yeah, but I'm saying that's like a yeah. And that would,
Well, police is regulation, and we all have to have regulations. You know, whatever we do, when you're in a cocktail party, there's certain rules that you take. You know, you don't pour everything on the floor, or flack your cigarettes in the food. You know, I mean, we're all restricted a little bit. You know?
So,
You
sorry.
finished?
I was gonna say, so what's next then?
The next is we just wanna see whether you think this is a terrible idea, whether you back it a little bit, so we can go forward and make more, you know, move forward with getting some more clarification,
Go
more filling
forward.
it out.
That's a great idea.
Go forward.
Yeah, I have
With,
one more
well-
question on this. Are all 6 zones residential?
Yeah, well, the ones in the town plan that have been pointed out, you know, since 2006 are all in the residential areas.
No, the,
With the exception of the National Register District on Post Road. That's in a commercial district.
Okay.
but I would be proposing in the future though, I think it would be good to use on these new developments, like after we go to all this trouble for developing the
That's
Roten area and downtown Darien, we've gone to all this trouble to make this look a certain look in this town. You could then say, put a village district overlay zone on this, so now we made an effort to make Darien look like this, so
So
100
you're
years
gonna
from
keep
now,
it.
we're gonna keep it because we put this in
David,
for-
you gotta keep it.
So
You
that's
build it, you gotta
that's an
keep
idea,
it.
that is an idea that you can throw out there for
Yeah.
a
Well,
way
I
of
think
using
that's
it.
been discussed, hasn't it, by P and Z a little bit?
A little bit,
Maybe
it's been
this is
thrown
an
around.
area that you
Is there,
use the new developments can fit
Where
that.
can we see, is there something that has those overlay zones shown on it?
Yes, there are lots of, we have 17 towns in Connecticut that have.
No, I'm
these
saying for
colors.
Darien, the.
Oh, we-
Oh, like where the sites
Yeah,
would be, yeah,
yeah.
did I not send you guys my presentation that has all these details?
I think I just can't.
Yeah.
Well, no, but
It's
that
like
was
a
a
very
lot.
detailed
It's a 30-page presentation, so I.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
why don't you
I'll
send
send-
it
make some-
around to people
some
again?
good
And
news
she
reading.
made a wonderful
Yeah, I didn't-
PowerPoint. She made a great PowerPoint, and I think you all should look at
But
it.
the next step, there's maps on
The
there.
map.
There's a
All
map,
that, yeah.
and not only that, but you can go into each of the town plans. She has a link, it's fantastic what she has on
I
that.
think Marion's impressed. I think Age
Well-
is speaking here of Marion. She's more impressed than I think some other people might be. But okay.
No, but I do think you had clarity, and I've been asking you to send that around to everybody, and I think would be helpful. I hope that you
All right, I
will.
know.
Because it will help a lot of people. I'm just speaking out of the blue here, and what you've outlined is all the details.
So the next step, just so you know, like literal concrete steps, is that I'm meeting with planning and zoning with Dave, Jeremy, and Woody. Oh, and Marion. The two of us are meeting with them on January 6th, and by that point they'll have correlated a a number of regulations by all our fellow towns in Darien and who have village district zones and figured out what regulations they've written, what those look like, how those have worked, and kind of the off record, what has worked, what hasn't worked.
Right,
And we'll kind
and
of,
start
from there, get a
formulating
proposal and figure out, based on that, what kind of regulations are we talking about and what kind of zones should we approach, what areas in town we approach that would make this successful to start. Whether it's one zone, two zones, all the zones, none of the zones, but,
How
But then we
far
have-
do you have to go until you actually go knock on doors and say, hey, is this something you'd be interested in? Because it could kind of die if people aren't interested.
Is there an incentive?
I will let you know in January. I'd like to see, I'm very curious to see what comes back from what they found in these other towns,
The other
specifically
towns, I know, seem.
village districts and residential zones, cause some
Well, a lot
towns
of
don't
people
have that.
are steering
As we're
away from the
talking
old
about
historic districts, and that they feel this is a
Yeah,
easier
I mean,
thing to
I've
do.
dealt with those, and that's a little more concrete.
Right.
You go there, you present, they say yes or no. It's
Right.
not like
You know,
we'd like
it's,
you
it's
to-
quite, it's very restricted about what they have to say, but, we're,
But you
But
know,
I
for
think-
neighborhoods where there's a lot of intact houses, the historic district is really a fabulous tool.
it is, and I'm
Because
not
you've got
knocking it,
the
it's
teeth
just,
of the law to say
And
to
there's-
people, I don't care if you wanna develop this property and make a lot of money. If you wanna buy this property, it's in a historic district,
and,
and you have to do X, Y, and Z. And some might think that that's restrictive, but on the other hand, it's a certain mindset. You know, like when you go up to Vermont or New Hampshire,
Right.
there's a lot of fabric that people wouldn't dream of tearing
I know,
down.
but that thought about it is this,
And-
the town won't allow it.
The towns.
But then
But they
Nantucket,
they
for
eventually do it.
Yeah, but
They do,
Nantucket
yeah.
I mean,
has
look
to
at the
do it
Hampton Inn
for
in
conversion.
Manchester.
Yeah.
I personally know a couple people that fought that for years, years, years,
Really,
years.
Yeah.
And it's done now.
Those are
So I
really-
mean, legally, it's, there are these legal
It's very
realities too,
difficult.
you know, that,
Yeah.
I mean, we've all
Right,
seen
it's a-
things happen in our town lately.
Right, I mean, it's a balance,
Happening.
but I think
Well-
something needs to be,
Gotta
should be
start somewhere.
approached, we
Well,
have to start
I
somewhere.
think,
It'd be interesting
I
to
don't
see
know
what
that
they
we
have
can
to
step
say
into
about it.
history, we tried
Were you gonna say
twice
something?
over the years to get a
What,
historic
does it
district.
apply to the inside of the house or is it just the
Exterior.
exterior?
Exterior
Yeah,
only.
exterior.
That was interesting.
It's the look of the street,
Right.
and we'd like to come back to you when we
Keep
get more
going.
detail, would you like to hear?
Keep it going.
Keep it going.
Does
Okay,
Bedford
we'll come
have,
back
doesn't
with-
Bedford have?
That's New York. I think they do, but it's just
to
like,
look at what their bylaws are,
yeah,
as far, cause I know there's a paint color along this one
Yeah,
street.
Scarsdale's got some pretty
it's
strict.
interesting.
Yeah.
That might-
Well, that might be a historic district.
Yeah, that might be historic, if they're trying to paint colors.
But, you know, in Nantucket, people love the historic districts, and that's commercially important to them.
Yes.
They can't tear down the center of that town, and everyone has to hold on
I've
to
been
it.
in front of the
So-
HTC in Nantucket.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's a,
It's not
it's a
so,
process, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I
And
mean, it's
you
a-
can't move on until they give it your
I
blessing.
know, but I don't think we wanna get into that, but
That's
I'm saying,
interesting.
it's worth
That was.
So January sixth is your next meeting?
Yeah, so you guys are welcome to email me or Marianne if you guys have other questions, and I'll send you my presentation in the meantime.
That's good.
I mean, it is 30 pages, I'll be very impressed if you guys read it and come back
Send
with
it.
questions.
Oh, you
Good for
can
you.
read it pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, it is
A lot
pretty
of it's
quick, yeah.
outlines and maps and whatnot.
Okay, but anyways, moving on,
Lots of
sorry.
pictures.
Speaking
Um,
of, just a quick question, speaking of development, are there any updates coming from David Genovese about his project?
Rita,
I mean,
we're a
I
special
feel-
meeting, we actually can't talk anything off, I'm sorry,
Oh.
I'm so sorry to do this too, but I've gotta keep us on agenda. We could, maybe when we close the
There's a
meeting, we
rules
walk,
for
I'm
I'm
so
doing
sorry.
informal.
We
But,
have, we can close the meeting.
yeah, so I will do, so, but last on the agenda is the approval of minutes.
Mhm.
Fabulous.
Everyone approve?
Approved.
Approved? Great, good job, Dave Humphries.
Very good.
All right, guys, 9:08 PM, we are adjourning